Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the revolutionary changes to Warhammer the Age of Sigmar. This video is sponsored by the Game Bunker. More on that later. Alright, so over the next month, Games Workshop is releasing a bunch of brand new rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. We're going to have brand new rules for every single army in the game, complete revitalization of the rules for each faction that will be compatible with the 2025-2026 Battle Pack from the General's Handbook. And then presumably around the end of the release of all these rules, we will be getting the brand new General's Handbook as well. And this is going to be a massive shakeup to the game. So let's take a look at the introduction and what we've got so far. Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Scourge of Ghyran. Using the new Scourge of Ghyran rules. The Scourge of Ghyran rules are a set of seasonal rules that include additional faction rules and alternative war scrolls for every faction. These rules are for use in the battles that use the General's Handbook 2025-2026 Battle Pack. Scourge of Ghyran War Scrolls. If you wish to use the Scourge of Ghyran War Scrolls, every instance of that unit in your army must be that War Scroll. You cannot use the printed, i.e. Battletome or Faction Pack version of the War Scroll for one unit and another Scourge of Ghyran War Scroll for another. If you decide to use the Scourge of Ghyran version of the War Scroll, you do not have to use all other Scourge of Ghyran War Scrolls for your faction. In addition, other rules that interact with the printed versions of that unit interact with the Scourge of Ghyran version too. For example, a rule including regimental options that calls out a unit type by name in a War Scroll interacts with both the printed version of that unit and the Scourge of Ghyran version. They are synonymous in this regard. Alright, so basically right off the bat, we're going to get new War Scrolls for a bunch of units, and then you can opt to use either the old War Scroll or the new War Scroll. Regardless of which one you use, it's going to interact with all your other rules and abilities, but you do have to choose to either use one War Scroll or the other. You can't have both, but you're not required to do army-wide use of the Scourge of Ghyran War Scrolls or the old school War Scrolls. You can mix and match them, just not for individual units that are duplicated in your army. So pretty cool, pretty well laid out right here. Sounds like it's going to be fun. And then we also have the Scourge of Ghyran faction rules. The additional faction rules consist of a variety of battle formation, artifacts of power tables, heroic trait tables, special enhancement tables such as monstrous traits, spell lores, and prayer lores. When picking your army's battle formation, you can pick one of the Scourge of Ghyran battle formations available to your faction instead of any others available to it. In other words, you can still only pick one battle formation for your army. If you pick from a Scourge of Ghyran artifacts of power or heroic traits table, you pick from that table instead of other such tables available to your faction, not in addition to it. This is stated in the rules that accompany the relevant table. Some of the Scourge of Ghyran enhancement tables are special enhancements unique to that faction. For example, monstrous traits. This is an enhancement table available to your faction like any other, therefore you can pick one enhancement from it for your army as per the Army Composition Rules 4.1. We hope that you enjoy using the Scourge of Ghyran rules and that they add a fun new dimension to your faction. Alright, so we got new battle formations, artifacts of power tables, heroic trait tables, and then special enhancement tables, such as the monstrous traits. And then we have the spell lores and prayer lores. So a ton of new stuff that's going to completely change up how your faction plays, provide some brand new artifacts, abilities, spells, so a complete change up to the game. So right off the bat, you're going to pick your army's battle formation. You're going to get one battle formation that's going to affect your entire army. And you can pick either the traditional one or the Scourge of Ghyran battle formation. But you're still only going to get one for your army. And then as far as the artifacts and heroic traits, you can just choose to use any one table out of your book, but everything has to be drawn from that single table. And there's also special enhancement tables that are only available for like monstrous traits and various different enhancements. And of course, you can pick one enhancement from it for your army. So this should completely rework how the rules are. Even just small tweaks for a single faction can completely change how the game and armies interact with each other. So the fact that we're getting a massive sweeping change to every single faction is going to be huge. You'll still be able to use a lot of your old stuff. You'll be able to use any of the new stuff. You'll be able to combine some of the old and some of the new. And then on top of that, we're going to get brand new content in the General's Handbook that's coming out as well. And I would presume that's coming somewhere around like a month from now, right after all of this stuff is released. So very, very cool. Big shake up to the game. This is definitely going to be an entirely new game. We're still going to be using the same old rules, but now we're going to have a complete mix up to all of your faction stuff. Now a quick word from today's sponsor, Game Bunker. Game Bunker carries a full range of Games Workshop products, including miniatures, terrain, paint tools, and more. Game Bunker offers 15% off MSRP for most Games Workshop products with the discount code WHMS. Receive free shipping in the continental United States on orders over $145. Online orders ship out within 24 hours. Game Bunker is a veteran-owned business. Use affiliate link below, enter discount code WHMS to save 15% on most items at checkout. For fast, friendly service with a discount on your favorite tabletop wargaming purchases, visit GameBunker.net and let them know that Warhammer Man sent you. So if you're looking to download these rules or take a look at them, they're going to be updated over on the Warhammer community page. If you just go to the Downloads tab under Age of Sigmar, you're going to see the recently added. And here we see the using the Scourge of Ghyran rules. That was what we were just taking a look at. And then we have Scourge of Ghyran Skaven, Scourge of Ghyran Stormcast Eternals, and Scourge of Ghyran Flesh Eater Courts. So if we just take a look at the Skaven, so we basically have 2 pages of rules right here. We can see at the top, it's clearly labeled Scourge of Ghyran, and then we have the faction rules Skaven, battle formations. Add the following battle formations to those in Skaven faction rules. So this is going to be in addition to everything inside the battle tome. And then we have envoys to the deepening gnaw, and then gathering of the clans. And then if we just scroll down, we see heroic traits. You can pick a heroic trait from the table instead of from other heroic traits tables available to the faction. So here we have the Ruinous Realms, Gnars, hero only. And then you have multiple options for your heroic trait. And then moving over to page 2, we have the Scourge of Ghyran. We have a new war scroll for the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell. We have a Brood Terror. And a bunch of changes to the overall war scroll, different options, different cool stuff that you can do. So very nice little mix up, short and sweet, 2 pages long, but could completely change up the game with minimal content. And then if we just jump over to the Stormcast Eternals faction rules, we have the heroic traits. So we have the Stormforged qualities. So some new heroic traits for your Stormcast Eternals. Then we have artifacts of power. Again, 3 new artifacts of power for the Stormcast. And then we have a new war scroll for Iridan the Witness. And that is it for the Stormcast Eternals. So definitely short and sweet, but completely awesome new stuff here. You're going to have a different way to play your army. You're going to have different war scrolls that are going to affect some of the characters or some of the units in your army. So while it might not seem like much, even one little change or one special war scroll or something that works well can completely give a new face to your army. And then last but not least so far, we have the Flesh Eater Courts. So we have the battle formations. Then we have a new monstrous traits table. And then we've got a couple of new war scrolls for the Aberrant Ghoul King and the Aberrant Gore Warden. So definitely a big fan of this. I love that Games Workshop is releasing different content like this that's free, offers you different ways to play your army, and then of course new war scrolls as well. So sometimes the war scrolls are underpowered or just not that great. Giving the option to use either the old war scroll or the new one, adding some new abilities, magic, or like various other buffs can take something that's been sitting on your shelf collecting dust and suddenly make it one of the key pieces in your army. So we know there's roughly 25 factions in the game. We've got the first 3 so far, so we basically have another like 20-something days of brand new releases for Age of Sigmar. And then shortly afterwards, I presume we will be getting the new 2025-2026 General's Handbook as well. And that's going to be a massive shakeup also. With getting roughly 1 year out of the General's Handbook and being included in Skaventide, we've all had a lot of fun with it. But it's definitely awesome that it's time for something different to completely shake up the game. So let me know what you think so far, if you've done a deep dive on any of these, if there are any pieces that previously you weren't using that you're going to be using now, or any particular units or artifacts that you're suddenly enjoying on the tabletop. So very cool of Games Workshop to hit us with the Scourge of Ghyran new rules pack. Lots of fun new content to enjoy for free. Let me know what you think down below. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to the Game Bunker for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products with code WHMS at checkout. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.